Good Friday morning, everybody. NTV Chief Meteorologist Eddie Shear with you this morning, and this is your NL Weather Briefing for Friday, November 14th. It's now 8:46 a.m. as I'm recording this, so probably will be a fair bit later before you're actually watching it because I have to upload it and whatnot, and that takes some time. What is going on? Why am I doing this? Well, we have our first real good significant snowfall of the season on the way tonight for parts of western and northwestern Newfoundland. It looks like snowfall amounts in some places are going to exceed 20 centimeters, but the forecast is not that cut and dry, so let's sort of get into the nitty-gritty details. The low we're currently watching, you can see it there circled in red on the infrared satellite imagery, is well south of Newfoundland right now off the east coast of the U.S. and south of Nova Scotia. This will work north and pick up steam as it heads towards Newfoundland and crosses somewhere over the western third of the island overnight. Looks like west of Grand Falls, Windsor, and east of the west coast. That's why the west coast is going to see a fair amount of snow, and areas east of there are going to be dealing with rain or a mix of rain and snow late tonight into early Saturday before the whole thing winds down by Saturday afternoon as the low passes off the north coast of the island. What you're seeing here is a computer model's depiction of what it thinks the weather is going to be at 2:30 p.m. Newfoundland Standard Time this afternoon. This is courtesy of Weather Bell. This is the new experimental GFS model. Bit of a higher resolution, and what it's showing here is rain in green and snow in blue. Now, the darker the blue color, the heavier the snow. As we can see at 2:30 this afternoon, the snow is still well away from Newfoundland, maybe a couple of flurries along the west coast. But the heavier snow is still down through the Maritime provinces and northern New England. That will work north by this evening. Jumping ahead 6 hours now, we can see that by 8:30 p.m. Newfoundland Standard Time, the low is now just east of Cape Breton Island, and we are seeing some of that snow working its way into the west coast, and even some rain along the immediate south coast and probably the immediate west coast as well. I'll talk more about that here in the next couple of minutes, but basically we'll see some flurries this afternoon along the west coast and some rain showers becoming a bit heavier by this evening, and it looks like the heaviest snowfall is actually going to hold off until overnight, and rainfall for that matter as well. Jumping ahead 6 more hours now, this is 2:30 a.m. Saturday, we can see that low just west of Burgeo has pushed ashore across the southern coastline of Newfoundland. What this is going to do, this will spread very heavy snow along the northern peninsula and probably about as far south as the Corner Brook, Deer Lake, Humber Valley areas. Also looks like it's snowing on the Baie Verte Peninsula at this time as well. Notice those dark blues, that indicates the heavy snowfall. We're also seeing some rain for central and parts of southern Newfoundland as well. And I think along the immediate southwest coast, meaning down toward the Port-au-Port Peninsula, Cape Ray, the Stephenville area, Port-au-Basque area. With this track, at this point, those winds are going to be more probably west-northwesterly than northwesterly. And what that tells me is that right along the immediate southwest coast, we will probably be seeing a mix of rain and snow rather than just snow because ocean temperatures are still fairly mild. Now, as you head a bit farther north up towards Corner Brook and Deer Lake, wind directions are probably going to be a bit more northwesterly, which I think should keep it primarily snow. That being said, enough warm air may work in a loft that areas near Corner Brook and Deer Lake and probably just south of Grossmorn may see a time of some rain and snow and ice pellets for a couple hours this evening before it changes back to snow during the early morning hours of Saturday, probably closer to 4 or 5 in the morning. So if there is going to be a mix on the west coast in the areas I was just talking about, looks like that would happen probably between about 1 and 3 or 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning. It may cut down on snow totals a bit, but I still think it's going to be a significant snowfall there. Jumping ahead 6 more hours now, this is valid 8:30 Saturday morning, and we can see that the low now has passed off the north coast of the island, east of the northern peninsula. Looks like on the northern peninsula into southeastern Labrador, we're seeing some fairly steady snowfall still. By Saturday morning, it looks like that steadier snowfall extends all the way back down toward Corner Brook and Deer Lake, as we can see there with that darker blue color, and the lighter blue just indicating some leftover flurries and lingering rain showers as well in some spots. At this point, it looks like the heaviest snow is going to be rapidly winding down from southwest to northeast, so for the most part, across Newfoundland, the heavy snow is probably going to be done around lunchtime. Into Labrador, looks like it's going to be a little bit later than that as the low continues to pull away and strengthen as it does so. And by 2:30 Saturday afternoon, we can see the heavy snowfall basically exiting the southeastern Labrador coast. We are still seeing some onshore flurries and snow squalls across the west coast and northern peninsula, and even some flurries across the south coast and possibly parts of eastern Newfoundland as well, as temperatures by this time will plummet. It looks like early morning temperatures for central and eastern Newfoundland on Saturday will be closer to 8 or 9 degrees, but by evening or afternoon will be closer down to 2 or 3, and by evening back down closer to 0 as the colder air, responsible for the snow on the west coast and southeastern Labrador, rushes back across the island in the wake of the low. Looks like it's also going to turn rather breezy in some spots as well. But basically, by this time, everything is beginning to wind down, setting the stage for a cold but decent Sunday. As far as snowfall totals go, this is a forecast from the RGEM model from Environment Canada. And you can see it's showing a rather large swath of 20 to 30 plus centimeters for much of western Newfoundland, and considerably less as we work up into southeastern Labrador, where I think snowfall probably is going to be a bit higher than what this model is forecasting in the probably 15 centimeter range. But I think this model is having a tough time resolving a couple of things. One, I think along the immediate southwest coast, snowfall amounts are going to be really cut down. And that's pretty much my main concern with this. I think everywhere else, away from the immediate southwest coastline, meaning Port au Port, Stephenville, Port aux Basques, I think that's actually a decent forecast. But I'll show you another computer model that I think is doing a bit of a better idea, or doing a bit of a better job picking up on the warm ocean temperatures that I think will turn some of that snow to rain for areas like Stephenville, Port au Port, and Port aux Basques. This again is another image from Weather Bell, the experimental GFS. Once more, I was showing you this a little while ago. And as you can see, it is sort of showing some bullseyes of heavier snow across western and northwestern Newfoundland. And this model is showing the heaviest snow on the northern peninsula and parts of the west coast, where it looks like it's going to be in the 30 centimeter range, so about a foot of snow. Certainly looks like it is a good possibility. Basically from Corner Brook on northward, but again, Corner Brook and Deer Lake may see a bit of mixing at times. But you can see on the Port au Port Peninsula and right along the immediate south coastline there and southwest coast, there isn't a whole lot of snow showing up, and that's because I think of the warm ocean temperatures are going to cause that to mix, as ocean temperatures there are still between about 6 and 8 degrees. But it looks like from the Baie Verte Peninsula back down southwest, just away from the coastline there and up on the west coast and northern peninsula, it is going to be a rather significant snowfall beginning, we'll call it this evening, continuing through about the early morning hours on our Saturday. So I hope this gave you a bit of a better understanding as to what we can expect tonight into Saturday across the western parts of our province. There is going to be some rain with this across central Newfoundland, but 20, 30 millimeters, I think that should about do it, so not really a big deal this go around. It also will turn quite breezy along the west coast, especially Saturday afternoon, so some of that snow is going to blow around. So my suggestion, if you have to travel, well, maybe hold off until Saturday afternoon to do that, or do it this evening. No fun traveling in a snowstorm. And have the snowblowers and snow shovels certainly ready. Folks across central and eastern Newfoundland, looks like we're still going to have to wait a bit for our snow, although it looks like some of us may see a bit on Monday. I'll talk more about that tonight. Coming up on MTV, starting at 5:30 on First Edition with Tony Marie Wiseman, and between 6 and 7 o'clock on the award-winning MTV Evening News Hour. You can also catch me on Twitter at Eddie Shear there, and on Facebook, meteorologist Eddie Shear. Have a great day, and I'll see you tonight.